Welcome to Write to Publish, your go-to podcast for all things writing and publishing. I'm Karen Stanley, a 14 times published author and the founder of Mabel and Stanley Publishing. Join me as I share a multitude of tips and insights drawn from my own writing and publishing journey. We'll be hearing from some inspirational authors too, who will share their writing experiences and top tips for success. Each week, we'll learn about an aspect of writing, from composition to genre and from publishing to marketing. Listen in as we learn and chat about all things writing and publishing, and let's get you on the right path. Hello and welcome to another episode of Write to Publish with me, Karen Stanley. It's lovely to have you tuning in. So this week I want to talk to you about author promotion. I have lots and lots of chats, as you can imagine, with people who've written books, wanting to get their books out there, feeling perhaps a little bit frustrated that they're not making the sales that they'd hoped for, or finding it difficult to get their book out to readers. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings, but there is no quick fix for this. There's no magic bullet, magic pill, magic wand, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing magic about the process. You've really just got to get out there and keep shouting about your book. The only way people will know you are there is if you tell them. It's kind of like opening the best sweet shop or cake shop on the high street with a big screen in front of it so nobody knows where you are and you're hiding behind it. If you imagine it like that, you've really got to get yourself out there. And unfortunately, this takes diligence, it takes commitment, it takes a certain amount of just dogged resolve, pig-headedness, call it what you will. You've just got to commit to the process and keep going. So it's only going to be a short little episode this week, because over the next few weeks, some of the tips that I give you for author promotion today, I'm going to explore each of them in a bit more detail so we can delve a bit deeper. Because if I try to do detail for each one, because trust me, there are loads and loads of ways in which you can promote your book. You just need to know what they are, where to find them, how to do it, and then you just have to keep on keeping on, really. There's no other method besides just getting out there, having a go and keeping on. So I was chatting to someone who'd written a book, and he was feeling a bit despondent about the sales. He had really good sales in the first few weeks, which is kind of, to be expected, really. When you first sell the book, you've usually done a bit more promotion when you first finish writing the book. And then sometimes that can kind of wane a little bit and you can kind of lose steam. And also people, you've got a lot of people that people in your circle, friends and colleagues who are going to support you, particularly if it's a business book, or people that know you, if you know what I mean. That web kind of spreads itself out. So there will be that first initial flurry of sales, but what do you do when that starts to wane, and how do you maintain that? And we're going to talk about that today. So I do think the most important thing is you must establish who is your ideal reader. And particularly if you work with a mentor, this is really something that you should think about before you even put pen to paper or finger to keyboard. If you don't know what your goals and objectives for your book, if you don't know what your vision is for your book, or indeed who your ideal reader is, how are you going to set the tone for your book? How are you going to get the pace and the content and the composition right? And that's the same whether you're writing fiction or non-fiction. If you don't know what your goals, visions and aims are, so, for example, if you've written a business book and you know that you want this book to create a lead magnet and form part of your marketing funnel for other services, and you want to or maybe it's a low ticket offer that brings people into your world, well, then when you know that, then you can apply your marketing strategy and create a marketing strategy that fits with those goals and visions and aims. But that has to go hand in hand with who your target reader is. You don't know your target reader, you don't know where they hang out, you don't know who they are, you don't know what demographic they belong to, their age, gender, cultural kind of background, for example, if that's relevant, interests, groups they might belong to, age, I think I said age, but all of those things are really important, because when you know who that ideal reader is, then that's when you can start to formulate a marketing strategy that helps to promote you in the places where your reader hangs out. So, for example, very, very simply, if you've written a children's book, you're not going to be promoting that necessarily on LinkedIn, for example. If you've written a business book, then you're absolutely going to be going for LinkedIn. But if you've written a children's book, then you're more likely to be looking at tours around local schools to do readings of the book. It's not really rocket science, but it does require you to have a bit of a think about it, to have some sort of plan. If you just keep chucking mud at the wall and hoping some of it's going to stick, some might stick, but a lot of it will fall off onto the floor in a horrible, muddy mess. So think about who your ideal reader is, and then this goes right back to sort of before you start the book, really, but then write for an audience of one. So write for that audience. So if you know you are writing a children's book, what age of children? I've had lots of people come to me because unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you like to think, people think, oh, I'll write a children's book. Some people anyway, because that's a lot easier. And in terms of how long it's going to take you to do that and how much writing you'll have to do, yes, it is much easier. But then you're going to have to think about illustrations, for example, and also absolutely pitching it spot on, dead right for your age group. I've had people come to me with book ideas and they say, well, I want to write a children's book. And then when we start to unpick that idea, I start to realise that it's actually really quite confused. They don't know if it's a chapter book or a picture book. Well, obviously a picture book is aimed at much younger children. A chapter book might be aimed at sort of teenagers, key stage 2, even perhaps young adults. So knowing who your reader is, knowing where they hang out, will help you to create a marketing plan that's going to work rather than one that is a bit of a hit and hope approach. So things that you can do once you've defined your goals and visions and you've defined who your target reader is. They do say that the money is in the list. And what this means is this is referring to your email list. An email list will be a fan base, if you like. This is a way of you collecting the email addresses of people who are likely to buy your book for whatever reason. So if it's a business book, they might be looking to buy that book because it satisfies a pain or challenge that they have. For, let's think about, if it's a cookery book, the pain and challenge of that is it might be, for example, a healthy cookery book for vegetarians looking to add variety to their diet. Straight away, you know exactly who that reader is. You know where they're going to hang out. You're going to know the sort of interests they've got. You're going to know the sort of groups they belong to. So what you can then do is you can create some kind of lead magnet, which might be simply like a newsletter or some extracts of your upcoming book. And then in exchange for email addresses, and then you're going to be emailing out those people. The great thing about that is if you write more than one book, which if you want to make more revenue from writing it is kind of advised that you have more than one book, so you've got something to sell them once this book kind of launch is over, then people will hopefully be thinking, I really love that book by that author. I hope she does something else. I hope he does something else, and I will definitely buy that again. And then what you've got is you've got a group of people eager to hear from you. They've signed up, they've engaged, they've got involved, you've got them on board. And every time you have a new offer, and particularly if you've written a business book, not only can you email them out about your book or little tips or snippets or, words of wisdom from your book, you can nurture those people. And then you can sort of tell them about upcoming courses and other services that you have. So having an email list to email out to, whether you're fiction or non-fiction, is vital. Now, of course, social media. If you've written a book and you're not posting it on social media, I would probably question your sanity. Love or hate it, social media has got its issues. I agree. There are times when I absolutely love social media and it's great and it can get you out there, but there is the danger that you get people on there who perhaps aren't as nice as they might be, and there's a lot of kind of junk to sift through and all of that kind of stuff, and secure, privacy, that kind of thing. But it is the perfect platform for you to reach your audience. You can do targeted ads, particularly again if you know who your reader is. You can slant your ads to that particular demographic, so age group, it might be region, where they live, gender, interests, all of that kind of thing. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, if you've written a business book, ideal place for anything businessy, really. LinkedIn is your platform for that. And TikTok, funnily enough, very up and coming for authors. Loads and loads and loads of authors on TikTok. Similarly, loads and loads and loads of readers on TikTok. And we'll kind of delve into each of these platforms a bit more as episodes go on. But certainly social media, you've got to be posting out, I would say, at least 3 to 5 times a week. But just, if you're not confident and you haven't done it before, choose one platform and master that first. Don't try and do all of the things all of the time, because one, you'll lose steam, get mightily fed up, and you're kind of setting yourself up to fail. So choose a platform that you think is going to be the best for your book, where your readers are going to be hanging out. Look at other kind of influencers or authors or hashtags or whatever it is on that platform, and posting out 3 to 5 times a week. You don't want to be posting buy my book, but what you should be doing is posting out, like snippets and tips and where you get your inspiration and writer's life and all of that kind of thing. Anywhere where you can get a talk about your book. So I, for example, do a lot of motivational speaking and talking about creative writing at women in business groups. Well, I take my books along there and I kind of slot those into the conversation, or I have a little bit of a subliminal messaging because they're proudly displayed on a table behind me. But wherever you can get your books into the fore and you can be talking about your books, stands to reason that, you'll be able to kind of promote the book that way. And actually, people buy from people. So if you're promoting your book in some kind of talk or speech or speaking gig, and people engage with you, then they're much more likely to buy your book. If you've written a children's book, as we talked about, you're thinking, where do your young readers hang out? Well, it makes perfect sense to be doing a tour around the local schools, readings from your book. If you approach the schools with the right kind of approach, then teachers would be happy to have kind of authors come and visit. Schools love to have author visits. It's very enriching for the children. It means that the children get to see other books read by people in different ways as opposed to just their teachers, and that can be really powerful and really valuable for schools. But again, you take a bundle of your books along, you might sell more books there, but you'll also getting your name out there. Anywhere where you can collaborate. So, like I say, other authors, book bloggers, people who are readers who want to read books, maybe sending out some books to book bloggers who are likely to blog about your book. I would never suggest paying for reviews, and I would never suggest paying for followers, because then you tend to get probably a lot of bots who aren't in your demographic, and goodness knows, you could end up with a lot of kind of junk to sort through there. So I would never pay for reviews. But if there are book bloggers out there or book reviewers out there looking for new material to read, looking for new material to shout about, then get in touch and send them a copy of your book or talk to them about your book. Anything where you can collaborate. So say, for example, you've written a business book and you know that there's somebody else in your sector who perhaps provides the same audience as you but isn't in direct competition, who you could collaborate with, who could mention your book, and perhaps you could mention their services in tandem. So kind of a bit of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, a kind of approach. And of course, anywhere you can get a podcast interview. It's just about talking about your book. How can you shout about your book? How can you speak about your book? Who can you talk to about your book? So podcast interviews, author interviews, there's loads of them out there. I've been on Radio Kent several times, some other kind of local radio stations. If you get in touch with the people who do the kind of creative section on those radio shows, they might have creative features, local artists, local creatives talking about their work. If you send out kind of press releases and ask if you can get an interview on there, you'll be surprised the answer's quite often yes, because they're looking for segments to fill. So they'll be only too pleased to have you on there to talk about your book. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can promote yourself, that you can get your book out there, but you have to talk about it and you have to keep talking about it. Pure and simple. No other easy fix, as I said before. You've just got to get out there. You've got to find where your readers are hanging out. Find out what they like to do. I've given talks at local book clubs sometimes. They wanted an author to come and visit their book club. It was lovely. I went round to their house. I had nibbles and a glass of wine, and I met all the ladies in the book club for my chicklit. So it's women's fiction. Perfect. A ladies' book club. The ladies were all of a certain age. My books tend to be for sort of kind of, I would say, the 35 to 65 age group. So this was perfect for me. So I'm thinking about my demographic, thinking about where those people hang out, and they were absolutely delighted. I think they got me a bunch of flowers, and as I say, I had a lovely glass of wine and some rather gorgeous nibbles, and it was really, really nice. So there's lots of places and lots of opportunities. Local libraries, look at local literary festivals of any kind, connect with local authors, see where they're shouting about their book. Maybe you could team up. There are so many ways in which you can promote your book, but it is a long haul. It's not a quick fix. It's not going to happen overnight, and you are going to be prepared to have to do the legwork. Whether you run ads, there is something you can do as well called a book sweep, and you pay for that. It's kind of like a prize effectively, and all of these avid readers will enter the prize. I don't know if they pay a subscription or something like that, and what they then get is a book bundle from all the authors that have put into this particular sweep. I think it costs like about $50 or something like that. So the person who's kind of paying the subscription and gets this book bundle might get 20 or 30 books from all of the authors that have given. You have to give a free copy of your book, but what you get in exchange for that is you'll get the email addresses of all the readers who've applied. Now you might get 200 email addresses, and typically you'll email all of those people out and say, oh, I'm so glad you joined the book suite. Hope you're enjoying my book. And typically you'll probably get half of those will drop out straight away because your genre might not be theirs. Don't be disheartened. That's probably a good thing, because that means they're not exactly your reader. So then what you will be left with is a core of readers who are in your demographic. So there's lots of ways you can get yourself on Goodreads. That's another platform that will kind of give reviews and kind of position your book. There are other platforms where you can put your book on free. That can be a little bit dicey because obviously you don't want to be giving your book away for free all the time, but you could maybe put a few chapters on there. Places like I can't even remember it now. It's not WhatsApp, but it's called something like that. I can't remember the name of it now. I'll have to post out about it when I remember. Wattpad. That's it, Wattpad. And you could even put a snippet of your book on there so that people might read a couple of chapters, and hopefully then they'll come over and buy your book. Also on Kindle Unlimited, you can put your ebooks on there, and your books will be offered for free to people who subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, but then you'll get paid per page that they read. If you've got large books, you might even make more royalties from that than if you actually sold the book. If you've got smaller books, you might not make so much money. I think it's like 0.001 cent or penny for page read, but what it does mean is it's enticing people into your world. It's making people go, come and buy this, it's a great read, have a try. Some will love it. You might not appeal to everyone, but you've just got to get out there and get in front of your readers, and keep getting in front of your readers. Keep making a name for yourself. Keep cropping up. Do some sort of lovely reels about where you get your inspiration from. Mine, I do loads of reels about where I go for my creative brain breaks, usually walking along the beach with my dog. Annoyingly, my dog gets more views than I do, which is a bit frustrating, but everybody likes their dog. But there's lots of ways that you can do. And over the next few weeks, as I said, over the next few episodes, I'll be delving into each of these ways of promoting your book in more detail. So if you've got any questions, please do get in touch. You can email me, mabelandstanley@outlook.com, or you can get in touch with me on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, Mabel and Stanley Publishing, and I'm Karen Stanley on LinkedIn. So please do get in touch if you've got any questions, or if you want to ask some more about marketing, or if you'd like to join our mailing list. And I quite often send out tips and tricks for people who are on the mailing list. So take care, keep writing, and if you've written your book, keep promoting. You may not like it, you may not be a marketer first and foremost, you may be a writer at heart, but unfortunately the sad truth of writing is that marketing is something we have to do if we want people to hear about our books. So let's get you on the right path, and see you again next week.